Welcome parents, and thank you so much for being engaged in your students' learning and wanting to know more about his or her grade. You may have checked Infinite Campus and had questions and wanted to know more about how the final grade is determined, or maybe why certain categories don't count towards the final grade, or you may have seen words like formative or summative and wondered, what in the world does that mean? In this video, we're going to discuss those questions. But first, let's back up and ask an even more basic one. What's the purpose of a grade? At Northeast, we believe the purpose of a grade is to communicate what students know and are able to do. For most of us, when we went through school, grades were determined entirely by points. Each thing done in class was worth a certain number of points. You might have earned points for completing work or answering questions correctly on a test, participating in class, or even bringing a box of tissues. While the point system might have worked well to achieve some of its purposes, say rewarding good behavior and punishing bad behavior, or encouraging responsibility and penalizing lack thereof, by its very nature, it didn't achieve the overall purpose of the grade, which is to communicate what students have learned and what they're able to do. In Northeast, we want the focus of the grade to be about student learning. So let's start with some terms you might have heard: formative and summative. In the learning process, we all know we often make mistakes. Whether it was learning to play a sport, figuring out a new computer program, or wrestling through algebra class, we've probably all had some learning experience in which we struggled at first. Learning from our mistakes, we all know, is a very important part of that learning process. So if a quiz or an assignment, an activity or a test is used to help that student learn, grow, or figure out what they need to do differently, we refer to that learning activity as formative. The student is still forming his or her understanding, and the teacher is figuring out what he or she can do to help that student. It's likely that you'll notice things your child has done in class that are not calculated into his or her final grade. Well, when you see that, there's a good chance that those learning experiences were formative. So you might be asking, why shouldn't the formative experiences be counted and averaged into the grade? Activities, assessments, or experiences that are formative are part of the learning process. Their purpose is for learning, not for the grade. Summative opportunities, on the other hand, are designed for students to show what they've learned. Whereas formatives are for learning, summatives are a reflection of learning. Just like formatives, summatives might come in different formats. They could be a test or a performance, a quiz or a project or a paper. No matter the form, if the purpose of what the student is doing is to give that teacher information, which they can score and report back to you about what the child has learned over the course of time, that piece of information is summative and it goes into the gradebook. So let's look at Infinite Campus at an example gradebook and see what this might look like. So here we are in the student and parent portal. In this example, you can see that we have 3 assignments that are showing up in red and 1 assignment which is not. We can see by the key at the top that an assignment in red is not used in grade calculation. That means that this assignment is formative. It's for learning, not for the grade, but the teacher wants to provide you feedback as to that student's progress. You might also see them using a 4-point scale. In a 4-point scale, a 3 is proficient and would be equivalent to a 90%. That's important to know because Infinite Campus will automatically calculate, say, a 3 out of 4 points is a 75%. That assignment's grayed out and not counted because the percentage that it's recording is not accurate when using the 4-point scale. You'll notice that one of these assignments says that it is summative. That means that this assignment right now is the only one that is counting towards the final grade. You might well see multiple formative assessments and multiple summative assessments. But it's important to note that if it's showing up in red, it is not counting towards the grade because the purpose of that assignment was to help the student with their learning or to give the teacher feedback for what they need to do to help students in their classroom. Whereas the summative assessments were assessments of learning, something that we want to record how is the student performing at this time and make sure that that goes in as part of the grade. For more information about grading practices at Northeast, feel free to contact your child's teacher or feel free to visit our website with grading resources for parents. Thank you.